בוקר טוב לעורך הדין דרשוביץ שייצג את דונלד טראמפ בהליך ההדחה נגדו בשנת 2020. Mr. Dershowitz, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We just watched the debate. What do you think is the most important takeaway for us, for the Israelis?
The Israelis have to assume that Kmala Harris will be the next president of the United States. Before tonight's debate, I think many Israelis assume that Donald Trump might very well win, and Donald Trump has been very supportive of Israel, and Harris has been less supportive of Israel, and certainly her vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, has been even less supportive of Israel. So Israel has to assume, for purposes of planning now, that the next president of the United States will be Kamala Harris, and that she will be less supportive of the United States than of Israel than either Biden was or that Trump would have been. So it is probably not a good day or a good evening for Israel.
Yeah. So are you sure that that Harris is going to be the next president? Because Trump has the time maybe to do other things, maybe to get back on track.
It's possible, but I think at this point, Israel has to consider the worst case scenario for purposes of its planning. And for purposes of planning, it should assume that it might very well be Kamala Harris. Nobody can predict for absolute certainty who it would be, but this debate seems to have pushed Harris into a much stronger position. She seemed presidential. She won the debate by the account of most people who have been observing it, even people on Fox News, which is very pro-Trump, seem to have acknowledged that Kamala Harris did a much better job than people expected. So for purposes of planning, for purposes of going forward, Israel has to plan for the possibility and the likelihood of a Harris presidency, which will not be a good thing for Israel because the Democrats are far less supportive of
Ken. Ellen, what do you think we should do now after this debate as an Israelis?
Israel has to be on a path to self-protection. It has to be on a path over the next several years, assuming that aid from the United States will be reduced, support from the United States will be reduced. Israel has to become more self-reliant and more dependent on its own arms program and its own diplomatic support. It can count less on the United States than if it looked like Trump were to be elected. I think that Harris will be the least supportive president to Israel, certainly since the second term of Obama, who was not supportive of Israel. One of the reasons that I have no longer identified with the Democratic Party is that the Democratic Party has been hijacked in many ways by the extreme left. Just yesterday, Tim Walz said that we should listen carefully to what the people who are protesting say. He said they're protesting for all of the right reasons. And Biden said they have good points. No, they don't have good points. The protesters are anti-American, anti-Israel. Many of them are pro-Hamas. But both the current president and potentially the next vice president have supported the protesters, and that's a bad sign for Israel.
All right, Mr. Dershowitz, just a second, please. אני מבקשת רגע לתת את הכותרות מתוך הדברים של מר דרשוביץ. אומר באופן חד משמעי שמי שניצח את העימות הזה זו קמלה האריס. אומר שאם דברים לא ישתנו, אז אפשר לומר שהישראלים צריכים להכין את עצמם לכך שקמלה האריס היא למעשה נשיאת ארצות הברית הבאה. שאלתי אותו האם זה יכול להשתנות. אמר בוודאי שדברים עוד יכולים להשתנות, אבל לתחושתו ולפי איך שהוא קורא את המפה ואת הדברים ואת הדיבייט, היא תהיה הנשיאה הבאה. ומה המשמעות בעבור מדינת ישראל? אני שואלת את מר דרשוביץ, ואומר, המשמעות היא לא חיובית בעבור מדינת ישראל, ולכן מדינת ישראל צריכה למעשה להיות עצמאית, לפעול באופן עצמאי ולהיערך לקמלה כנשיאה הבאה. אנחנו כעת כמובן נמשיך את הרעיון כעת. Mr. Dershowitz, thank you for waiting. You recently announced that you're leaving the Democrat Party after decades of calling yourself a Democrat. Please, can you tell us why?
Because the Democrats have been captured by the hard left, the progressive, woke, anti-Israel hard left. At the Democratic National Convention, they had many speakers who were very anti-Israel. Keith Ellison and the Reverend Sharpton and AOC and Bernie Sanders. And there were no pro-Israel speakers. Yes, the hostage family was there, but they spoke only about the hostages, not about Israel and about Hamas. And so I think the Democrats are moving away from Israel, whereas the Republicans are strongly supporting Israel. And for that reason, a variety of other reasons, I no longer can feel comfortable as being part of the Democratic Party. That doesn't mean I'm a Republican, and it doesn't mean I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. It just means I'm an independent, and I will make my decision based on the totality of the circumstances. And at this point in time, I honestly don't know who I'm going to vote for. It's a hard decision for me.
Okay, I will translate your words. Please, Mr. Dershowitz. אני שואלת את מר דרשוביץ, אחרי שנים של תמיכה והזדהות עם המפלגה הדמוקרטית, הוא החליט בתקופה האחרונה לעזוב אותה, ואני שואלת אותו למה. הוא אומר, משום שאני סבור למעשה שהמפלגה הדמוקרטית נחטפה באלה המילים על ידי השמאל הקיצוני. אני לא אוהב את מה שאני רואה שם. זה לא אומר שאני אלך ואהפוך להיות עכשיו רפובליקני, או שאני אצביע לדונלד טראמפ. אני עוד צריך לחשוב על הדברים, אבל את מה שאני אוהב כרגע אני לא רואה, ואני חושב שמדובר באירוע די לא טוב בעבור מדינת ישראל, ובעיניי המפלגה הדמוקרטית היא כבר לא פרו-ישראלית, וזה משהו שפחות מייצג אותי כרגע. Mr. Dershowitz, I would like to ask you two more questions, please, if it's possible. I would like to ask you about the academies at the USA. The university are opening right now. We don't see a pro-Israeli vision over there. Do you think that Israelis or Jews should be afraid of what will be going on in the academies this year?
Yes, not only this year, but for the future, because remember what goes on in the academy today goes on in Congress in 10 years from now and in the White House in 20 years from now. And so the universities are giving us a glimpse of the future. And the future is very dark for Israel when it comes to universities, because the universities, again, have been captured by the progressive, woke, hard left, anti-Israel extremists. And so Israel is in for a very tough time when it comes for support from academia, particularly from this program called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which is very anti-Israel and has been very influential on university campuses.
Wow, okay, I will translate your words, please. שואלת את מר דרשוביץ בנוגע לאקדמיה בארצות הברית. אנחנו רואים את הגישה הפרו-פלסטינית. אני שואלת אותו, האם מדובר במקום מסוכן בעבור ישראלים? ואומר, כן, בוודאי, שהשנה הזו הולכת להיות שנה לא פשוטה, גם שנים קודמות, וראינו את זה כבר. ואחד הדברים המעניינים והמרתקים ביותר שאמר, שבעצם הגישה ומה שקורה בתוך האוניברסיטאות, למעשה הוא הולך לייצג את ההנהגה בעוד כעשור, ולכן זה עניין מאוד מעניין שאנחנו כנראה צריכים לתת עליו מאוד את הדעת. Mr. Dershowitz, thank you for being with us today on the I-24 News Morning News.
Thank you.